Welcome back to another edition of Figures from the Attic, the channel where I review my old childhood collection of action figures, along with some new stuff I picked up along the way. So we've looked at quite a few of my childhood FigFed mainstays. Today I'm going to look at someone that I didn't really use in my FigFed, but is actually a really good figure. But I'll explain why he wasn't in my FigFed. But that is this Ruthless Aggression era Undertaker. Now, as a figure, as a standalone figure, as a display piece, this I think is awesome. It's got the long trench coat, which is unique. You don't really see stuff like this these days where it's kind of built into the figure. It's not a soft goods cloth trench coat. He has black arms that's molded onto his arm. That's his actual arm. It's not a jacket that you put on. And he has this hard plastic, I guess, sleeveless trench coat that goes on top. But combined, it looks like he's wearing his entrance gear. And the reason I didn't really like using figures like this in my FigFed is because you couldn't take off this jacket without it looking ridiculous. I mean, if you do take off this hard plastic part, he would have his tank top and then just black sleeves, which would make no sense. So yeah, that's why he wasn't really part of my FigFed, but he's a phenomenal figure. Over the years, I guess, when I was younger, if you look, I added some black eyeliner just to make it a little more authentic to The Undertaker, which actually held up pretty well over the years, and I think it's a good addition to it. It's one of the few modifications that I stand by today. But he also has the old school Sarah tattoo right there on his throat, which he's since covered up. And I like the attention to detail because they could have very easily made this just plain black pants, no designs, but they did put the Undertaker logo right along that the right leg. It's there in gray, and I think it adds a little something to it. I think it looks great. The one area where they did kind of skimp, so to speak, would be the gloves. They really just put black wrist tape on him, on his hands. Later on, they started making actual molded MMA style gloves for the Undertaker figures. But it is what it is. I mean, you still get the gist of what they were going for. Something funny is, I'm not sure why on this particular figure it's so noticeable, but the back of the head, you can see very clearly where they kind of added long hair. There's a line of demarcation right there on his head, and then he has like a separate molded piece of hair going down the back of his head, which is interesting. I wonder why they did it that way for this particular figure, because there are other Undertaker figures that just have the regular hair going down. I also like, at this point he did have kind of a receding hairline. They did capture that here, the hairline going back, some strands going down there by the sideburns. So all really good attention to detail by Jakks on this. I really appreciate stuff like that when you find it on figures. So yeah, overall I would say this gets, as a display piece, an 8.5 out of 10. As a playable action figure, probably lower than that, but just on the whole, I would say a very solid, above average 8.5 out of 10. As always, thanks for watching and stay tuned.